Hi! I want to make a quick video today about high pre-drive dogs and gardens, because what I see a lot of the time is issues starting or worsening due to what goes on in the garden. Now I know this is a real pain. If you've got a dog who's obsessed with birds and you've lots of birds flying over your garden, if you're opening the back door, which I know, like those of us with gardens, that's kind of what we have them for. We want to just be able to open the back door, let the dog out, go and make cups of tea, get ready for work or whatever, and not while the dog's outside playing. But for dogs with a high pre-drive, they are probably not playing. They are probably chasing, hunting, trying to catch birds, possibly barking at them. Sometimes they won't come in from the garden because they're so excited about the birds. Sometimes you end up having to always have them on a lead in the garden because you can't get them to come back in. And then what very often happens is that behaviour transfers to walks. So then you not only have a dog who is not coming in from the garden, but you also can't let them off the lead on a walk in case they see a bird. Birds are the most common because they pretty much fly over everybody's garden, so that's why I'm talking about birds. But it could be anything. So here is what I would recommend if you have a young dog or a puppy or a new rescue dog. Be in the garden with them every single time. Nobody leaves the back door open and lets the dog go out unattended. Somebody has to go in the garden with the dog and has to then be teaching the dog what you would rather they do when they see a bird. You know, ideally just look at it rather than run around madly barking. But if you're not there to teach them, then they are not going to know what to do. So they're just going to fall into instinctive behaviour, which often is behaviour that we would rather they weren't doing. So that's really my top tip with high pre-drive dogs, however much of a pain it is. If you've got a young dog until they are mature, supervised trips into the garden always. And if they're a new rescue dog, supervised trips into the garden always until you have got a good handle on what they are going to be like. And then you can let them go out. And part of the reason for this is because one of the reasons that pre-drive becomes such a problem is dogs going off and doing it on their own and not seeing it as a team sport. So ideally they see it as a kind of team effort. And one way to help that happen is for you to be involved whenever it's happening. So I've been doing that with my young Cocker Spaniel since I got her. I've been doing that with her because I had an inkling that she would have a very high pre-drive. So I've been doing that with her since she was tiny. She's 2.5 now. And over the winter, over the winter time, I had a mouse came into my house. A mouse. It was very irritating. Anyway, I've cleared them all out now. Humanely trapped them and took them miles away so they wouldn't find their way back. And anyway, one day the mouse was in my office and she found it, flushed it out of one of the dog beds, chased it through the office. The mouse went into a cupboard. It's got glass doors. And what was relevant here is I was going out for lunch with a friend, and my spaniel stays in my office when I go out. So I was going out for lunch with a friend. She had right then we just got back from a walk and I was just leaving her to go out. So I was leaving immediately. She had just chased this mouse into a cupboard and was then trying to go in the cupboard after it. And I had to leave. So I've got one of those cameras, one of those Wi-Fi cameras that connects to your phone. So I set the camera up, I left, and what I intended to do was if I got to the car and checked in on her and she was trying to get in that cupboard, I was going to then go back into the house, get her and take her out for lunch with me. Because what I didn't want her doing was spending however long I was out battering her paws against a glass door. Partly out of risk of her, but also I didn't really want her breaking. I didn't want her doing that for hours at a time. So anyway, I got out to the car, I logged into my little Wi-Fi app on my phone, and there was my dog lying in her bed. And she stayed. Like, occasionally she'd get up and move around, but she mostly lay down and rested for the entire time I was out, even though the mouse was in the cupboard and she knew it was in the cupboard. And then for about a week after that, I struggled to get any work done, because any time I sat in my office, my little dog was like, well, we need to hunt for the mouse. And she was going to the cupboard and she would bark to get like into the cupboard, and she was just like really, really excitable. She would want to run, she would run down the stairs and see if the mouse was there, like constantly hunting, which was annoying. It was annoying because that's where I work. But it had happened in there, and so she was utterly, and she probably could still smell the mouse. It's not that she was just thinking it was there. She would know it was there. But the reason she didn't do it when I was out was because I have always made sure that hunting is something that happens with me. So that searching, using their nose to search for prey is what I mean by hunting. Or eyes. Some dogs look with their eyes. But a lot of dogs hunt with their nose. And so I have always made that a joint activity that happens when we are together. It doesn't happen when you're on your own. And I did that by never letting her out in the garden without me there when she was young, because even when she was very young, even something like a starling having been on the ground would make her really hunt with a great deal of enthusiasm. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I know it's a pain, but if you do have a dog with a high prey drive, or you think your dog might grow up to have a high prey drive, I would get those foundations in very well and not be leaving them. In the same way as you don't leave them with the run of the house when they're very young, because they'll chew things that would be dangerous, or they will toilet in places you would rather they didn't. With high prey drive dogs, that sort of management needs to extend into your garden. If your garden is a place that contains the sort of prey that your dog would be interested in. Anyway, I hope that helps. Bye for now.